What's up, everybody? Welcome to another edition of the KSR Happy Hour presented by Country Boy Brewing. Today, I'm Tyler Thompson, and I'm joined by Jack Pilgrim, who is modeling Country Boy's beautiful Country Light, I believe. Nice, beautiful, love to see it. And Nick Roush, who is joining us from the radio station where I don't think you have any Country Boy, and that makes me sad.
I wish I had some because I did get my hands on a 6-pack of the Country Boy Lime. It's the summer. You got to have a lime beer, and it's great because it's not overpowering. It's just tasty. And I even, if I'm feeling really froggy, I might get the little lime juice squirter and add a little bit to it.
Woo!
Yeah.
Nice.
Wow.
Getting fancy up on
living life on
it.
the edge, man.
I am enjoying turn it around. The Halfway Home, the American Pale Ale, because it's July 4th week and we got to celebrate America somehow. And I'm going to do it with some beer.
Yeah.
Yeah. Keep singing. Just keep it
America, I am a real you know what? I don't need to do that.
We'll workshop it.
Yeah.
We'll workshop it.
Yeah. We'll table that for later.
So
but shout
Drew
out Country
Franklin,
Boy.
Yeah, shout out to Country Boy. We love them, and they've been an awesome sponsor for our show so far this summer. Drew Franklin would be here with us, but he's out west. I think the last I read, he was in the back of a car headed to South Dakota. So he's out enjoying the West and doing whatever people in the West do. I think they were going to Deadwood today. Have you all ever heard of Deadwood?
Heard of it, but never been.
It's a town. I know about it because one, the show, but two, I have relatives from South Dakota, and so we did a lot of family trips out there growing up. And it's a town basically that Kevin Costner just owns. And it's like walking back in time. Yeah, there's like a casino and a saloon. It's like pretty cool. I mean, I was 10 years old when I went, but it seemed really neat. So I'm sure Drew's having a good time. We miss him, but he's here in spirits. And there's a lot to catch up on, even though it's July 4th week. So both of you all are coming from Lexington today, where Nick, I believe you had an interview that's going to be on the KSR YouTube channel later this week.
Yeah.
Tell us a little bit about it.
Coming July 4th. Yeah. Very interesting conversation with the most interesting player on the Kentucky football team, I would say. Shiaz Pete. So you all know him as the big left tackle that Kentucky got in the transfer portal, but fascinating character. Conversation goes a lot of different directions, so should be a fun watch this Friday during your July 4th. Like, there's not much on TV. Nathan's hot dog eating competition. After you watch Joey Chestnut guzzle down a bunch of dogs, you can watch us hang out and talk. It's one of those where you talk football. I knew it would go some different places. Did not expect a couple minutes on Napoleon Bonaparte, but that's it's exactly what I signed up for, right? I was like, I want to have a fun chat with somebody on the Kentucky football team, and that's where we went. So it was a lot of fun. Make sure you're subscribed because we're only
we are so close.
So close. Just subscribe. You're watching us now. Hit the subscribe button.
We're at 49,894 subscribers. That is so close to 50,000. So if you're watching right now, if you haven't subscribed yet, just hit that link. It's super easy. And also another thing you can see on the channel, we've got interviews with Jalen Lowe and Reese Potter. Jack, you were there today for those. I know you just spoke mainly to Lowe, but what were your impressions?
Maybe it's just my recency bias, but I think that was the best UK basketball interview that we've ever done. Like, just in terms of quality over a sustained period. Like, we've gotten better one-hitters, but for a 30-minute interview, I'm telling you, if you watch it from start to finish, there was not a single bad answer. It was entertaining. He kind of got some unfiltered, like, ooh, I can't believe he said that. We even got some, like, PR team, media team in the background going like, all right, let's kind of reel it in a little bit, which is always a good thing because it means the content is excellent. A couple of the bigger standouts, Shaq meme, sorry I wasn't familiar with your game, who is looking the part, who is giving that type of reaction for yourself in summer workouts, just didn't even hesitate, said Trent Noah. I think he's the best shooter I've ever seen in my life. We were like, excuse me? What was that?
Yeah, that's pretty big praise.
Very, very big praise. And then at the very end, I asked him about, like, hey, the new college basketball video game is coming out here in the next couple of years. If you were to be rated in that college basketball game, what would it be? And he said, what would Ortega's rating be? I was like, 95, for college basketball, probably 95. He said 91, 92, and then Reese Potter, I hear on the other side, say that he's 99 overall. So very just lighthearted, fun day as some of the newcomers with Kentucky basketball.
Well, you are speaking the language of the chat. So I'm going through our YouTube live chat. TJ1737 says, are we discussing the EA Sports NCAA March Madness 2028 announcement? And yes, we are. McDouble with Pickles is painfully pessimistic that EA can create a good college basketball game. They failed miserably every single time over the last 15 years. One of our favorites, our Bramblet, Richmond Bramblet, says, I can't wait to see all the blue hairs down at front and Rupp in college basketball 2028. And that is true. Like, because, obviously stadium components and stuff like that, traditions are a big part of college football, the video game. But I wonder what, the college basketball counterpart's going to be like. Are we going to get Rupperina ice cream?
And Jay Billis will be eating an ice cream cone during every single broadcast that he's there for. I was one of those where that game came out, peaked during my PlayStation 2 playing times, and to that one person's comment, like they weren't the best games, in part because the graphics weren't great, and like it was too easy to be awesome. You could just turn St. John, like that was my dynasty team. St. John's, they were the worst team in the Big East. You can make them good really easy. You could just dunk on everybody. In EA, they got out of the basketball game in general because 2K was just better. But I don't care. This is their way of getting back into basketball, period. And if they've got 3 years of runway, they should be able to make it pretty good. The biggest beef that I had with all those old games, they would release them after the season started. The whole point of getting the video game is so you can play it for 2 months before the season comes out because you're so excited to see what this team looks like. So I'm excited. I'm fired up, although a little disappointed that we missed out on the opportunity to have some of Cal's best teams on the video games because, like, John Wall.
That would have been awesome.
I mean, he would have been faster than everybody and then just go dunk on somebody on the other end. Anthony Davis just would have been blocking every single shot at the rim. So it kind of sucks. I'm sure they will bring back, classic teams that you can play with. But it won't necessarily be the same. But I'm just glad that the sport that we love, that Kentucky steals the spotlight in, is going to get the video game spotlight, even if it means we have to wait 3 years from now. I think my question, though, for you all, will Mark Pope have a national title before the video game is released?
I sure hope so. I'd like to see another banner hanging in the rafters. That'd be pretty awesome. I mean, I'd like to think so. They played this game on the radio show like last week or something. Like, what year will Kentucky win the title next? And I think most everybody said 2028. I would love it to be 2026 because that's the upcoming season. And there's like the 30-year anniversary of the 96 team and all that. 2027 or 2028 kind of feels right to me. Let's ask the expert, Jack Pilgrim.
We're speaking it into existence this year. We got to have it. Nick, I don't know. Do you remember just staying up before we had like the roster share kind of era where the rosters were created for you and you could just go download? I remember getting the old 2K games and the old EA Sports games, especially the college ones, and replacing point guard number 11 and having to change all the names. And then while you're doing that, you'd go to the roster sliders and be like, I'm going to make every single one of these guys 99 overall and just run through college sports for eternity. That was my favorite, like dedicating a whole day or two to doing that. And now it's like, well, it's kind of been taken from me, but I'm excited to not have to, like, the game will load up and it'll be Jalen Lowe, Ortega Owe, and Mo Diabate. Like, I won't have to deal with all that stuff. It's going to be cool with the NIL era and how we're going to be able to see this for the first time, just as we kind of got to see that transition with college football. They got to walk, so college basketball, EA Sports College Basketball 28 or whatever it's going to be, so they could run.
And it's funny because the NCAA basketball game is what took the football game away because Ed O'Bannon was featured as a classic player that started the lawsuit. Exactly. So time is a flat circle. But I do think to maybe sort of transition to the recruiting and U19, like if you think about roster building and recruiting, 2027 seems like it would be a year teed up for Mark Pope to potentially have his best team because, I was on the night shift when Akina Alozie, there we go. When he narrowed his list, and you start going through and you look at who Pope is recruiting in that class, and it's like, oh, so Kentucky's a finalist for all of them. And obviously, we don't assume that they're going to get all of them. But, like, Tyrion Stokes, why don't you come on down? Like, that's where you could see Pope get, like, not to diminish the talents of Jasper Johnson and Malachi Moreno, but those could be 2-year guys, right? You have those 2-year guys going to their sophomore season, and then you get a bunch of 5-stars building up for that 27 season. Like, that feels like this could be really, really fun because those guys in that 26 class that Kentucky's recruiting are really, really talented.
Yeah, and I think you just teed it up perfectly to transition to the Team USA under-19 team. They're currently in Switzerland playing in the FIBA World Cup. And Jasper, you mentioned him. He's on that team, Tyron Stokes. And Mark Pope was there yesterday. Mark Pope is in Switzerland right now, which, given the temperatures outside in Kentucky and in Tennessee, sounds pretty lovely. I'm sure it's nice and cool and crisp and refreshing there. Jack, you've been watching Jasper's games so far. How are he and the rest of Kentucky's targets doing?
Yeah, looking like he belongs. I think so many Louisville fans especially are using like what Michael Brown is doing versus what Jasper Johnson is, like some type of, well, this means that Kentucky is going to be worse than Louisville this season, whatever. It's also about opportunities and what types of shots and how much, Jasper's getting the ball in his hands. When he has had opportunities, I think he's been tremendous. This was obviously the biggest highlight, a James Harden-esque step back 3-and-1 that he converted for the 4-point play. I think he's kind of filling a role exactly what he's going to be in Lexington this year. I think, they're kind of viewing him as kind of the Jackson Robinson, like, hey, if we want you to play some on ball, we can, but, primarily you're going to be a catch and shoot guy that we're going to create a million open looks for you, and your job is going to be to hit them. And that's going to be kind of what he does. And there will be times that for that reason, he'll hit 5-6 of them in a game and he'll go for 20, 25, 30 points. There will be other games that he's not making them, and there's so much other talent elsewhere that going to put him on the bench and bring somebody else in there that's firing on all cylinders and scoring at will or whatever. So I think it's going to be very situational, but Jasper's going to get his opportunities, and I think he's kind of showing that on the world stage right now. Just very cool, just in general, to see a Kentucky boy right out of Lexington wear USA across his chest with Mark Pope out there, and them very clearly on their way to win gold, just like USA does at everything. But it is very cool for Jasper to get this moment individually, especially for the upcoming season, what it means for the team.
Yeah, and it's kind of cool that we get to follow Team USA during July 4th week. I mean, there's a chance. So they play Cameroon tomorrow at 11:15 Eastern. And then the round of 16 play starts on Wednesday. So as it progresses this week, as long as Team USA keeps winning, and it seems like they're one of the better teams, we could be cheering for them on July 4th in the quarterfinals, which what is more American than that? So very excited about that. And it sounds like Pope is going to stay out there. A lot of college coaches are out there right now to kind of recruit. We've seen the Stabs go to these events in the years past and stuff like that. But as an assistant coach, do you think Pope gets any like special access? Because I know, was he just a training coach or an assistant coach for training camp, or does that extend to the event?
Just that training camp is my understanding, because it does have to be like, for fairness. I don't really understand it because, again, Tommy Lloyd is sitting there coaching these guys every single game. How is that not just an unbelievable advantage? But so, like, I'm sure it's a kind of a relationship thing where, once you're a part of the USA basketball family, you kind of just have an open door policy whenever you want to come. Like, Jeff Capel was there in Colorado Springs last week, where he wasn't an official on-court coach, wasn't, drawn up plays or whatever, but he was still sitting courtside mingling with all the other USA staff members. So I think once you just kind of join the family, and I believe Mark Pope now, because he has that court title over the last week in Colorado Springs, I think he now belongs there. So not officially, but kind of unofficially.
So when I saw that Pope was there, I was like, that's not exactly an easy trip. And that led me to think, well, how long does it take to get there and what does it cost? So I did my digging, I did my research, and I'm curious. This is a game we're going to play. How long does it take to fly from the U.S. to Switzerland? And the flight that I found, it was from Dulles to Zurich. It was a direct flight from there. So how long do we think that flight is?
Well, first of all, is he flying commercial or is he flying private?
I would think he might fly private to an international commercial flight because, like, you aren't flying private, across the big ocean.
If you've got Joe Kraft money, I mean, I don't know. But yeah, for sake of this argument, we'll just say how long is a commercial flight from Dulles to Switzerland? I would guess 8 hours.
Okay, young Jack. And if you want to guess the cost too, I found reasonably priced flights too, if you pick the right days.
Is that in the travel budget?
Well, honestly, what was funny is when we were out there were some people that asked, like, so what would it take for you to go to Switzerland to cover this event? Like, would Malachi have to go there with Jasper and then, like, 7 Kentucky targets? Like, what would be the breaking point? And I was like, man, I don't even know, because I just assumed, I didn't even bother looking because I just assumed it would be ridiculously expensive. I'm gonna go 6.5 hours, Bob. 6.5 hours.
It is a 14-hour flight.
Oh God!
What?
But it will only cost you $750.
And that's direct?
Yeah, and now, and I think the one I found, it was CVG to get you to Dulles and then over there. But it was only 14 hours from Zurich or Dulles to Zurich or whatever.
What was the travel day that, like, Expedia will sometimes tell you, like, hey, you're going to be traveling from CVG to whatever, and it's going to be 36 hours or whatever. What was the total time?
I guess it would have been like 8 to 8 or something like that. My math might be a little bit off, but basically you got there at night and arrived early the next morning. So the dumb little things that my mind was like, well, because that's a lot. Like, and he did the same thing when Jasper played down in South America last year. Mm-hmm. So it's clear that Pope...
That's where he drove the stick when
That's right.
Opposite side of the road. That was a great KSR story for the week.
It really was. Although I do got to go back, Jack, to what you mentioned off the top, because Jasper has had his moments. That and one on the 3 was awesome. But we do have to take off our blue tinted glasses to say, damn, Michael Brown's good. Like, he might be, and while I was driving to Lexington with Peak, he might be the best freshman that Louisville has gotten since Earl Clark. Like,
wow,
he's good.
Yeah, and that's what sucked, because I went on a bunch of different platforms after training camp and said he might have been the best player at the event, and there were UK fans that were going, "Oh, here he is, kid from Louisville growing up. Oh, I thought he was one of us, but no, he's just a no, morons." And then you had the Louisville side on the other hand going, "Yeah, one of us." No, also very clearly not one of you guys. L's down for life. But you got to call a spade a spade. Michael Brown is a really, really good talent. Yeah. However, with this event, he also has the ball in his hands essentially every possession, and he is I'm going to go get mine. I have never seen a shot that I didn't like. So you got to kind of look at the opportunities and the efficiency and some of those things. Like, he went 6 for 9 yesterday from 3, looked terrific.
6 threes is good, yeah.
But there are going to be days. There are going to be days where he goes, 3 for 18, and Louisville fans will have to live with those days as well. So just be prepared for that moment when the day comes. And
I like the way that it sucks that this game is going to be as early as it is. Because the whole Jaden Quaintance issue, but alternatively, like, it is a fascinating matchup because Louisville is going to have a good backcourt. There's no doubt about it. But look what Pope did from a defensive standpoint all over the place, and then the interior. I mean, it's lopsided how much it should favor Kentucky. So that's going to be a fascinating matchup once we get there. We've got 6 months to preview it, but it is fun just to think about, like. I mean, if Kentucky can take away the 3-point shot and then, you got to drive in the lane where you're going to get that shot swatted like that, that's going to be... Last year, it felt like the Louisville-Kentucky basketball rivalry was back from the fans cared more. Like Kenny Payne totally tanked that team for 2 years. They were apathetic. They knew they sucked, and they were absolute hot dog water. Pat Kelsey got them back to like being a competitive team, but they're nowhere near what we're used to seeing in this rivalry. This is going to be a top 10 matchup. Like that was every year with Pitino and Cal. We're finally getting that back. So from that aspect, that's going to be exciting. And I know that like it does stink that it's a Tuesday night after the college football playoff ceremony. As much as I hate the timing of it all, it's still going to be a very, very fun basketball game. One that, hey, who knows? Maybe there might be a rematch in March.
Just side note, Jalen Lowe also during his press conference today said, we have the best backcourt in college basketball, and it's not close. So,
gotta love that confidence, right? Well, that Kentucky Louisville game will be the second week of the season. So, But you know what? We may need it in early mid-November, because football season will be well underway. I don't know what game they would be at that point, but
be right. It's like Auburn, and they might have a bye after Auburn, but I know the Auburn game is right around there. But
morale is not high when it comes to football, but it's not all bad news. Recruiting is, they've got something going. It looks like 2 new commitments this past weekend. One on Friday, one on Sunday. I know you're going to tell us about that. And then what's the latest on Matt Ponatoski? I feel like I finally mastered spelling his last name correctly.
You always want to put the W in there, but it's not in there. I know our pal Pete can attest to that. But the 2 commitments they got, Tyreek Jemison was a 3-star, and that's the thing that has been tough for a lot of. You just look at the star rating right away in a lot of these commitments. How the rankings work, a lot of these guys are going to get rankings bumps right after this weekend. They update them in July after the evaluation periods, after they go through the camps. Ponatoski right now is the number 100 player overall and the top 10 quarterback in the country and on 3, but nobody else has him inside the top 300. He's going to be a top 100 player overall. Like that's how it's going to happen. So like if you go back to Isaiah McMillan, who is unranked by 3 out of the 4 recruiting services, Iowa wanted that guy. Like that, if you get a DB that Iowa wants, that's a very good thing. Iowa, I don't know if y'all have noticed, they put guys in the NFL. Cooper DeJean had an interception in the Super Bowl. They're pretty good. So the fact that Kentucky got 2 guys from Iowa, I think that speaks volumes. Kentucky beat Bill Belichick for a recruit. Okay, Jack.
When could you ever say that?
Jack, Kentucky.
Hell yeah.
Your golden goose, the best that ever did it, can't beat Mark Stoops for a recruit. That's a good thing. But Tyreek Jemison, though, is one of those where when you look at offensive line recruiting, early on, there were some misses. There's no denying it. You thought they were going to get this tackle or this other guy, and they ended up at Rutgers. Tyreek Jemison was a guy that they were in on early that was very high on their board. 1A, whatever you want to rank him. They got him over Belichick, NC State. Mississippi State was another school that was a finalist. And then on Sunday, Garrett Witherington, he took an official visit to Penn State. Wisconsin, they produced some pretty good defensive linemen. And the thing I like about Witherington is he's listed at 290, and he's going to gain 30 pounds. That's a good-looking 3-tech in the SEC. Like, when you project these guys moving forward, you can see where there will be growth if they hit where if they get where they need to go, right? Like there's been some guys that come in here that you don't think anything of, and then all of a sudden they blow up, and you're like, wow. Not everybody is a top 300 Deion Walker that becomes a productive player. So those were 2 good recruiting wins in the trenches over the weekend. Anwar Stewart, he's picked up a couple talented defensive linemen. I know the kid from Lake Travis. They got last weekend. His name escapes me. The other defensive lineman. There's a lot of names. It's that time of year.
Ben Duncombe?
Yes, Ben Duncombe. Yeah.
Look at me knowing a football recruit's name.
Man.
But like Lake Travis, that's what they do. They produce college football guys. And this is a guy he's going to add a ton of weight. He can play multiple positions down there. He's playing at the highest level of football in the state of Texas. So I like the start. And then if you get Ponatoski on board, you get a nice shot in the arm that can maybe help some dominoes fall elsewhere. They have a really talented receiver that committed last week that could be a great go-to 1-2 punch for him in the future in Dallas Dickerson, who's got blazing speed, 4.4, 10-second 100 meters dash, like who checks all the right boxes. But then what else could potentially be out there if you get Ponatoski on board, which right now we're expecting. Kentucky has all the momentum. I know there's a little bit of like, well, these picks came in for Kentucky to land Ponatoski last week. How come he hasn't committed yet? Well, some of it is because he plays baseball too. And he spent his week playing in a national tournament down in Georgia. He said on the record that he didn't want to commit while he wasn't at home. That tournament ran through yesterday. So we're hoping to receive some good news in the coming days. But it's one of those guys where, I'd written a lot about Ponatoski, but I actually hadn't sat down and watched all of his tape yet. And like, when you think of the scope of what he could be bringing to Kentucky, I mean, I was saying expletives watching him throw the football. Like, it is just like, how did he get the ball in that wind? Like, the anticipation to be able to put it right on the money. Like, this is, I don't think I can oversell how good this kid could be at college football, because he said before, I mean, he's a top 20 baseball recruit, and he's like, baseball comes easy to me. But football, like, that's hard work. This kid saying that, he was at Archbishop Moeller, playing in the most competitive conference in Ohio, the Greater Catholic League in Cincinnati, against Kirk Herbstreit's kid at Cincinnati St. X, where the whole college game day crew's there. And he's going and winning these big games in Ohio Division I. He threw 4,200 yards, 58 touchdowns, and 3 interceptions. And some of these throws, he's like running away off his back foot, getting chased by some guy, flicking his wrist and putting it on the money 50 yards downfield. Like, it's the kind of stuff that you just don't see. Kentucky doesn't recruit these guys. So if Kentucky can get it done, it will be awesome. And then the other layer to it is like, not only is he just scratching the surface, but the baseball aspect's going to keep people on their toes. Oh, what if we lose him? What if we lose him? Or what if we... Like, that's going to be fun. But ultimately, I think if you've seen if you look at other two-sport athletes, a lot of them just roll with football. Because, like, what's better? Being a Major League Baseball shortstop and grinding your way through minor league baseball, or being an SEC quarterback who can get paid to play now and then be a potential NFL quarterback? It's a little bit more attractive than baseball. So maybe I'm being a little optimistic, but some of that is just because that guy's awesome at football, and I want to see him playing for Kentucky in the future.
Well, I don't know about you, but I'm feeling motivated.
I'm feeling very motivated. Yeah, before we get, I love it. It's so beautiful. All right, so we got to give some context here. So Nick, you were out at the training center today, and you didn't take this picture.
No.
You took a picture of that wall that did not have that graphic on it. And it used to have a John Schwarman tribute on it. But now it looks like they've taken that down. They didn't put this up, but man, they really should. Like, I would pay so much money for UK to just lean into it that much. Like, I don't know what they're going to do with that wall. I mean, I know that they've got like $36 million worth of renovations coming to the stadium, and I don't know if that's part of it, but I would just love it so much if they just leaned into the bit. It would make me so happy.
And some of it is they do vinyl signs, and like every 3 years you got to replace them because they just fade in the sunlight and all that. Yeah. So you just got to do it. So who knows what's next? But the motivated bit is very fun. Like, it just is, and there haven't been a lot of bright spots except talking about a quarterback who might be here in 2 years. So like, letting the fans have fun with it, because if you're in the meeting room with all these decision makers who are like, best case, worst case scenario. The worst case scenario is you kind of stink, and that's what people expect anyway. So let's at least have some fun with it, right? Having motivated Mark Stoops, I can promise you, as a journalist, a big J journalist, I'm going to do everything in my power to make sure that Mark Stoops shares how motivated he is going into this season. Every press conference. So, Mark, feel motivated today? Huh?
I mean, SEC Media Days is in 2 weeks, right? So if If he did it right, when he got up there for his opening statement, he would say right off the bat, I am motivated going into
ripping a
this
big
season.
old cig at Newport and a
Pull
God,
out
I'm
some
motivated.
RD1. Oh, I would love it so much. But it's, I mean, if we had to set odds on him even using the word motivated in his opening speech, what would we set them at?
Minus 10,000.
I would, because like that's naturally just what he's, like part of the reason it became a bit is because he said it too much, right? And like people are like, I'm tired of hearing it. So now we're just kind of enjoying it. It's almost like whenever Cal said tweak and your ears were like a dog and they would like, huh? He said it. He said the tweet. That's what we're going to be doing with Mark Stoops. And you know what? Like it's not the worst thing in the world because if you look at this team from a roster standpoint, there are reasons to get excited, but there's not a like. This is definitely. There's a lot of uncertainty. They have half their roster is new, so you're playing with uncertainty, and I think that's some of what Stoops is trying to sell is that like. I'm backed in a corner, damn it. I'm putting the team on my back, and we're gonna fight our way through. And you know what? If that gets people to buy in, then by God, let them buy in. It's just we need. I'm hoping that UK does steer into the skid a little bit harder once we get closer to the season.
I hope so. I mean, with Vince leaving, it's like that kind of seemed to get them all fired up a little bit. This could be even more like let's just lean into it and have some fun and try to embrace whatever talking about the program people are doing, because it feels like if you ask people about football, one, they're going to be depressed. Two, they're going to bring up Vince. Three, they're going to make a joke about motivated Mark Stoops. Like you got to hit at least one of those to connect to fans right now. And why not this one? I mean, it'll probably, like the Cal tweak thing, become very annoying very quickly once the season actually starts. But
what we need is a motivated song. Like we had a tweak song. We need a motivated rap or what, like those songs were fun.
Call Kentucky Joe. Yeah, Kentucky Joe, if you're watching, this is your moment. This is your moment. I want you to call into the radio show, or even better, come on the happy hour. It would be lovely. Well, as much fun as football recruiting is, and hopefully it gets even more fun. Hopefully we're not here this same time next week wondering when Matt Ponatoski is going to commit. Hopefully it happens before then. There was some sad news in the world of horse racing, and it just seemed fitting to have Roush, our horse racing expert, on to talk about it. D. Wayne Lucas passed away at the age of 89. He's a legendary trainer. Nick will give you a rundown of all of his accomplishments and accolades. But I was reading a story about him in the Courier-Journal. I thought it was really just a fitting testament to him that he was out at the barns at Churchill Downs until practically the last minute he could be. I mean, it just seems like he's such a staple at that barn and in Louisville and around the horse racing world. Even if you don't know horse racing, if you saw a picture of him with his cowboy hat, you would probably know who that is and the big sunglasses. So tell us about the coach who I just learned today. The reason why he's nicknamed that is he was a high school basketball coach.
Yeah.
Like I had no idea. That's really cool.
And he got into quarter horse racing and then worked his way up methodically. First off, he goes by D. Wayne. Daryl Wayne is what a strong name, right? Like that is a guy who picked himself up by his bootstraps, who was the face of horse racing through the 80s and 90s. But to your point, Tyler, like the longevity there, it's not like this guy was just hanging on because that's all he knew. And it was like sort of a like, we're going to keep you around. Like, no, he was good. He won the Preakness last year at 88 with Seize the Gray. He had a Derby horse this year, an American Promise, who I wanted to buy into the belief that horse was going to get one more for him. I couldn't not bet on it in the off chance that he did win one, because D. Wayne once won 6 straight Triple Crown races. 6 straight.
It's ridiculous.
And I thought what was even more remarkable is that ran from the 94 Belmont through the 96 Derby with Grindstone. But in 95, he swept the Triple Crown. And one of the horses that actually, I believe Tabasco Cat just won the Preakness, did not win the Derby or Belmont. But, I mean, Tabasco Cat trampled his son and, like, left him severely injured. And yet that horse still brought him, like, you got to think, like, personally how much that would have had to just wreck your world, but yet he was so dedicated to the sport that he wasn't going to deprive the sport of horse racing just because it caused him personal harm. And what I find fascinating too is that he was the face of it, and he had basically Bob Baffert came in and kind of took his crown in the late 90s. Grindstone beat one of Baffert's horses in 96, and then Baffert just started reeling off winners. Silver Charm in 97, Real Quiet in 98, and then D-Wayne got him back with the winner in 99 with Charismatic. They were bitter rivals, but they ended up becoming friends. And like to see that, like, I think is a real indictment on his character. I think the biggest legacy that D-Wayne leaves is that, hell, half the sport is dominated by his former assistants. Todd Pletcher, he just won a big race in the Stephen Foster at Churchill Downs. That was one of his former assistants. Kerry McLaughlin had a ton of horses. Dallas Stewart. Like, the list goes on and on and on. So, like, you really can't. I mean, he second most Triple Crowns win ever. Tied for the second most Breeders' Cup winners. I don't think anybody's ever going to beat his records as the oldest Kentucky Oaks winner when he had Secret Oath a couple years back, and then having Seize the Gray at 88. So, an impressive legacy. I've loved all of the tributes. This morning they had somebody ride out with his pony, just ride around the track at Churchill Downs, which I thought was a very cool gesture. So it sucks, but speaking in generalities, it does feel like we're in a very transitional period because, D-Wayne passes away. Christophe Clement, who he's more known in the NYRA world, he passed away after a battle with cancer. There's a very touching moment where his son took over his barn, won his first race in a big stakes race up in New York, and then his wife interviewed him. And it's just like, so you're having passing of the guard of two legendary trainers, but then also locally, like the guys I grew up reading are hanging it up. Rick Bozich, I used to read his column on the side of Courier Journal when I'd eat my bowl of cereal every morning. John Clay, today's his last day before he goes into retirement. He's been writing for the Herald Leader for as long as I've been alive. He was one of the nicer, one of the first people that I approached when getting on the beat. So it is, we are in a bit of a transition period. I guess we're the new media folk that the torch is being passed off to, which feels like a big responsibility. But it does seem, I don't have a good word for it, but we are at times are changing, and it's different. And we just got to have gratitude for the people that came before us that kind of set the table for us to have this platform now.
Yeah, 100%. And I'm glad that you mentioned John Clay. I read his farewell column on Friday or whenever it came out last week. Really, really great. I mean, he's always been very kind to us. And in a time in which not everybody was kind to the KSR folks coming up, we were the new kids on the block about, 10 years ago. And a lot of traditional media people really didn't like us. So he was always one of the nice ones, and we respect him for that. And Aaron Gershon on a more digital level is leaving his role in Kentucky media to do something else in sports media. So we wish him well. The press rooms are going to look a little different next year. So we're starting to be the old people, which is very weird. Like I've started, I think it was last year when I would come up for games or in the postseason for college basketball, I would look around the media rooms and I'd be like, there's a whole wave of younger people that I don't really know that well. And I used to be like one of those younger people. And now it's like, and I'm looking up like at the older people, and there are fewer and fewer of them left. I mean, obviously Jerry Tipton retiring a few years ago was a big part of that. Now John Clay's gone, Rick Bozich. It's weird, man. We're getting old.
I think Mark Story and John Hale are the only writers still around. There's some TV people, Brian Mallon, Mossy. Yeah, there's some that are, but like we're getting senior status. Do we get to add like senior beat writer to our tag now?
Sure.
In our 30s?
Yeah.
Not there yet. Two quick John Clay stories, because he's one of my favorite human beings on earth. Went to the Tyler Childers concert a couple months ago at the Kroger Field, and had probably too many of these, if that's possible. And I saw him. I was at the concession stand and saw him across the upper deck at Kroger Field again. Had a couple drinks in me, and I screamed, "John Clay!" at the top of my lungs, and John was like nervous, just kind of an older guy. It's like, Hi, Jack. It's like, hey, I love that guy. And then John Clay, just this last run with him was really cool because, again, I had never been to a Sweet 16. Second weekend my entire time doing this
so
job.
sad.
Yeah, it's horrible, just the worst. But John Clay and I, we sat together at a lot of these games throughout the season, and we kind of had this running joke where when we would sit together on press row, Kentucky would always win. So before each game, we would look at the seating chart and look, and if we were sitting together, we were like, sounds like it's going to be a good night for the Cats, baby. So it was kind of fun watching John on his last tournament run. He'll never admit it publicly, but a diehard Kentucky fan through and through and has been for decades, that I think kind of this last run, he kind of found himself kind of personally just kind of like, yeah, go Cats. So it was fun going along with the ride with him and sitting by each other at a lot of these events and especially celebrating whenever we would, because we were kind of each other's good luck charm.
I just wish they would have got 2 more wins to make him work when he got inducted in the Hall of Fame at the Final Four.
Ooh.
Like, John, you can't just go to the Hall of Fame. We got to put you to work while you're down in Houston, all right?
Yeah, well, we got to give a shout out to Westover Robin 9609, who just gave us, what do we call these? Super tips?
Super chats.
Super chat. $10 super chat. Shout out to you.
Shout out Westover.
And
oh, wow.
Shout out to Steven because he just gave us an update. We are only 2 subs away from 49,900. That brings us within 102 of our goal at 50,000. So come on, guys. If you haven't done it already, do it. It's free. You probably, if you haven't done it, you don't even know. So just go up to the top right or wherever and hit subscribe. So shout out to them. And we should give a shout out to the Savannah Bananas because they were in Louisville, and all of my friends in Louisville pretty much wrote about the Savannah Bananas or put up pictures or videos. It looked like an awesome time. I know they were in Nashville a couple months ago, sold out Nissan Stadium. Like crazy. Set a record, like 70,000 people watching a baseball game that isn't even a Major League Baseball game. Like, that's crazy. So, Nick, you were there. You got to tell us about it. And I think, Steven, you were there too, right?
Yeah, he got to check out some of it as well. And with the crazy part too, Peak, we didn't get the main show. We got the party animals.
We got the party animals and the visitors. But yes. I did go last year to check out some Banana Ball, and they do an excellent job at getting fan participation. It's so good. This is not a great example of other videos I'll cut to, but they actually, I want to talk to Jesse Cole, and I reached out to him about doing an interview. He's the guy who wears the banana suit, but what he's able to do to get people to care about a not real team. People are standing up cheering the entire time. They play music everyone knows, and they encourage everyone to sing along. But even without the bananas there, Roush, I thought it was another amazing environment. I'm definitely going back every time they're here.
Yeah, and it's one of those things too that I've got kids, so I brought my boys. They loved it, and it's hard to get a 5-year-old and a 2-year-old to like sit there and watch something. The main attraction at any of these ball games is actually the snacks. They were able to look past the snacks because yes, they did play some of their favorite music, but they also, like, to your point, like it's almost hard to describe the fan engagement unless you're there. But like they do fan warm-ups where there's a little girl that goes out in the field and she does the dance, and if you clap your hands, you got to clap your hands. If you spin in circles, you got to spin in circles. So there's a lot of stuff like that that makes it feel gimmicky, but it's not that as gimmicky as like a Globetrotters where it's performative art. It's not like wrestling where the predetermined outcome. It is like wrestling where there's some personalities out there. I saw a guy whose bit is he's like an Irish guy, and so he chugged a beer and then he smashed a 400-foot home run. That was awesome. But they also, yeah. But like it's like a real game, like they're just playing, and you don't know. There's not a predetermined outcome. So even though I'm not a diehard party animals fan, like I have a team to cheer for that could lose. But like they do some cool stuff in between. Like they're catching balls behind their back. They're doing a lot of cool stuff.
Yeah, and didn't they sign a former UK guy to the league? the one with the mustache. He was really famous last season. I want to say he like made the Savannah Bananas league, but it seems like so much fun. Like I really wish I'd gone, although getting tickets was really, really hard. Like at least for the one in Nashville, you have to like make the lottery and all that. So maybe next year, right?
They have 4 teams now. They're expanding to 6. So like there's a developmental league where they're going to have more, so the supply should be out there a little bit more. But it was fun because we sat behind a family where one of their kids was intern for the Banana League.
That'd be fun.
Yeah, and it was their dad's birthday, so the whole family came up to be able to watch it. And the ceremonial first pitch is determined by a first chug. And so the dad had to go out there and try to out-chug another guy with root beer, which it was a foamy mess. It was a foamy mess, so he did not win. They also had one of the in-between innings things. They had a race where 4 people in a family, they had each one on a base, and they had to smash a water balloon on the person's head, and then they'd run the next base and smash a water balloon on their head. And the winning team just got pelted by water balloons by all of the players. So a water balloon fight is a fun way to break things up.
That is too fun. That sounds like a really fun, like July 4th experience. I don't know what their schedule is. Whatever city gets them on July 4th is very lucky.
Yeah.
Yeah. So speaking of July 4th, it's coming up on Friday. Can you all believe it? I mean, here at KSR, we don't celebrate holidays like the rest of America, but even we will try to carve out some time to have some fun. I can't remember the last time that the 4th was on like a Friday or lined up so that you could have a long weekend. I'm really looking forward to it. What are your guys' plans for the weekend? Jack, I know you're going to Holiday World at some point. And Splash and Safari. Are you lucky enough to get both?
But when I tell you just the craziness of the next 4 weeks of my life it's insane. So we have some family in from Vegas. So the in-laws, so my sister-in-law and their 3 kids are in from Las Vegas, and some other family from southern Kentucky driving up, and the mother-in-law wanted to bring all of the kids to Holiday World. So 6 grandkids and all of the parents of those grandkids, bringing them all to Holiday World, staying in the little cottage. I don't know if you've heard or seen it, but there's like a little Santa Claus cottage, Christmas time cottage or whatever.
Oh, Santa Claus, Indiana.
So we're staying on site at Holiday World, leaving tomorrow late afternoon. So spending the night in Santa Claus, Indiana. Wednesday is going to be kind of a, morning to afternoon crap show, and then spending the night and leaving early Thursday morning. So that's going to be an absolute chaotic mess. Friday is 4th of July. Saturday I leave for Canada, so that's just a whole different thing. Going out of town, it's a kind of a late funeral thing, spreading my grandmother's ashes, where long story, but kind of a family reunion kind of deal up in Canada. Then coming back, so that's the 5th through the 10th.
I'm glad you're waiting until after the 4th to go to Canada.
Yeah.
Can't be on Canadian soil for Independence Day.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, absolutely not. Peach Jam is the week after that. And then when we come back, first week of August, my second child is due. But she's kind of trending.
It's coming up.
She's kind of trending toward being on the earlier side. So this could be like a late July kind of deal too, where like the next 4 weeks could be just all time mess. But
I mean, you're stressing me out just thinking about it.
I keep looking at the schedule like, dude, there's not enough hours in a day. There's not enough days in a week. Like, I don't know how I'm going to fit all this stuff in, but you know what? We're going to make it happen. We're going to make it work. We're going to just grind this thing out.
Have you calculated how quickly you can get from Augusta to Louisville?
It's been a very prominent conversation in the Pilgrim household. Yes. That's been something that, because that's July 16th through the 20th-ish that we're talking. So due date's August 2nd. I technically have 10 days, but if she's trending early, because apparently like second baby, and Nick, I need your opinion on this because you have experience. Second baby trend early due dates before schedule, ahead of schedule.
It's more of like when it starts, when the baby's coming, it's coming like that. So like we were on time technically. Like I think it might have even been past the due date for the second baby. But once baby decided he was going to get here, he got here. Now, granted, third baby, though, we got to the hospital on Sunday night at 9, and it was like the next day at 5 o'clock. So, like, I'm not, there's no concrete math or science here. Although I had this experience in the past where it was like, because the Ole Miss game back in 22.
Mm-hmm. Oh, yeah.
Yeah, that was one I really wanted to go to. And we were 10 days out, and I was like, man, if we would have been like 2 weeks plus, then I would have trusted it. But at least like, hey, you could get to Atlanta and fly back in a hurry. Whereas
like Mark Pope can just offer to take you on the craft jet. That would be really nice.
Yeah. It's not like you were in Oxford, Mississippi, where it's in the middle of nowhere. Like, you can find your way back. You don't want the cake to be unbaked. Like, you don't want it to be gooey in the middle. So just let the baby stay in the oven a little bit longer. You got this, Jack.
These cooking baby comparisons are making me uncomfortable. Like, bake a little more. So my July 4th plan, Stephen, you can show the picture I just sent you. Typically, we would be up at the lake. So you can't really see. This is supposed to be the stairs to our dock, and it is so flooded. There you go. So that's not going to happen. Although we did take the kayaks out this weekend. And it was really fun, but it's a mess, man. Like Barren River Lake, Nolan Lake, all the lakes in that area of Kentucky are just super, super flooded right now. So we will be staying in Nashville instead, but that's quite all right. I'm not going to complain.
Here's a question though, Tyler. Could you pull the boat up and then just, that's a short little swim. We
thought about it. Or just like taking the kayak from the stairs to the dock where we will then have the boat. But even then, I think it just needs to come down a little more. But we're going to get creative. We're going to make it work. So until then, there's this awesome app called Resort Pass. They are not an advertiser on KSR Happy Hour, but they should be. That you can get day passes to like hotel pools all around Nashville. And I think it's in several cities. So we are going to check out one of the hotel pools around the Nashville airport on Saturday. So I'm looking forward to that.
Nice.
So Nick, tell us what you're doing. And then I've got a fun July 4th game.
We staying local because my cousin is getting married in Austin this fall. Not every family member can make it to Austin. We're still up in the air because it's Halloween weekend. Kentucky plays at Auburn. It's like, oh, that's a lot.
How badly do you want to see the eagle fly around Jordan Hare?
Well, and then the other part is like, well, do you want to miss Halloween when you've got 3 little ones? And then it's like, well, what do we do with the 3 little ones? So they're having a big wedding shower on Saturday in town to get all the relatives who aren't going to be able to make it there. So, a lot of people, they'll do the destination wedding and come back and have the reception. That's sort of what it's going to be like. So cool. On Friday, we're going to a friend's pool party, and it made me ask the question, and maybe Jack, you can answer this better, because the cul-de-sac at my buddy's house is right off Dixie Highway. Pretty much everybody's just buying fireworks and the cul-de-sac's gonna have a fireworks show. But Luckett, he actually invited me. He was like, hey, all the people in Mount Washington, they're gonna shoot their fireworks off if y'all want to come see them. So what do you think would have a better fireworks show, Mount Washington or Dixie Highway? That's competitive, right?
Ooh, man.
I mean, Bullitt County, they're going to be doing it big.
I think
Mountain Dew will be flowing.
I think Mount Washington has you beat, bud. But it's close. It's close enough to where I could be swayed both directions. But man, I think Mount Washington's going to be a heck of a time.
Well, because I think they'll be a little bit more planned ahead with like all the big ones at once. Whereas Dixie Highway or like my neighborhood, they're just going to be lighting off fireworks for like a month, and it's just going to be random duds. But Mount Washington, it's going to be a show, a spectacle for like 3.5 hours. So shout out to Bullitt County. You all know how to light up some gunpowder.
What's the cutoff? Well, at what day do we say enough's enough?
Well, at least it's
July
on
5th.
I mean, at least it's on a weekend this year, where it's like, all right, just get it all out on one weekend. I don't. Is Remy? How does Remy handle the fireworks, Tyler?
We don't know because we got him on July 6th last year.
Oh, okay.
So we don't know. His fosters who had him, who we adopted him from, said he did fine with fireworks, and he's not scared of thunderstorms. So,
okay.
But we'll see. We probably need to get him like a little thunder shirt. Yeah, knock on wood. Because Nashville, they have like the biggest stupid fireworks show downtown. So it'll sound like the world is exploding on Saturday or Friday. But I think I've told this on some KSR show before. My family had huge July 4th parties growing up. Like that was the party that my parents threw. They loved it. They would send somebody to the state line to get Tennessee fireworks because the Tennessee fireworks are better than the Kentucky ones or something.
Right.
And the grand finale each year was we got like a cardboard box and we filled it with fireworks they sold us as they thought were like duds or expired or whatever. Just filled it to the brim, put it in the middle of the backyard. We'd set it on fire. Like it was called the Big Box of Fun, and
quite fun.
Yeah,
oh man,
retrospect, this was so stupid. The man, we loved it. Like it was not safe.
Oh,
I mean, we had. Oh, it was great.
That's the most redneck thing I've ever heard from you, Tyler. Like, that's so
we had
great.
people running around with Roman candles in their hands. Like, oh, we were not safe at all. Like, it was great. There would be like a charred spot in the middle of the backyard all summer from where that box would sit. It was grand old time. I will not be replicating that this year, but shout out to the Mount Washington and Dixie Highway folks. Whichever group goes to Tennessee to get their fireworks, they'll have the better fireworks show. So.
Oh man, that's awesome.
Yeah. So I'm not going to top that with this game, but I came up with you can only pick 3 things to do on July 4th. So I'm going to give you 5 options.
Okay.
You got fireworks, cookout, pool party, lake, and baseball game. So pick 3 of the 5. And your cookout, just imagine the most wonderful July 4th cookout,
I'm definitely cutting baseball game. I don't need that. They play baseball all the time. Like, I don't need a baseball game in here. But then it comes down to lake or pool for me because I kind of...
It's a big debate.
And where I'm at in my life with my young children, it's just easier at the pool right now. Like, it just from a semantics, like the lake, it's a new place, getting kids to bed, like it's just a whole... So right now, I'm going to say pool, especially because, like, I've got a redneck-ass lake house. Like, there's no guarantee that you're going to have a good sleeping arrangement or it's going to be very air-conditioned if it is 100 and whatever degrees it is right now outside. So I'm going to give the pool a slight edge over lake. But I can't imagine having a 4th of July without some sort of cookout. Like there's the grill has to be on, or like, what do you can take fireworks, but like, even if I was sitting at my house, I would just at least have a couple dogs on the grill, bare minimum, to celebrate America.
It feels wrong. It feels wrong if you don't.
What was the first option?
Fireworks, cookout, pool party, lake, baseball game.
We're going first 3. Yeah, I think pool party and cookout are obvious standards, and then fireworks just to kind of cap off the night. It's the perfect little nightcap within reason. Like, I think that we've gotten carried away as a society thinking that fireworks for 4th of July become fireworks for 4th of July week. And once you get to like July 9th and I'm still hearing fireworks, it's like, all right, bro. We have moved on. It's time to it's go USA, patriot. Like I got you, but at some point we got to draw the line somewhere. So as long as it's a night cap instead of a week cap, those are my top 3 by far. Yeah, I agree with Nick. And Nick, you have to have the grill going basically at all times. But what's the mandatory has to be on the grill?
Oh, that's actually a KS board question. That's an awesome segue. So, well, Steven, if we have him pulled up, can we do drum roll? Oh, there we go. Favorite July 4th grill out staple? It sounds like Jack is saying hot dog.
I don't know about hot dog. I don't know about hot dog. I don't know.
I think I'm hot dog. I think I'm hot dog because it's just like I don't seek it out, but nothing hits better after 3 or 4 country boys than just like, because it's not too much, and I don't want to have a meal on hot dogs. That's a nice little snack. So yeah, but I would like at least one dog, even if it is not the full meal, right? Like I'm not going to get full on hot dogs. I'm not Joey Chestnut. Come on.
That's a pretty good point. Like, I view a cheeseburger as a meal. You don't just like casually throw down like, oh, let's just have a couple of cheeseburgers throughout the day. But you could definitely sell yourself on like, oh, it's just, let's have a quick dog. I'm firing up the grill. You want a quick dog? Yeah.
Well, because what happens is they make a bunch, and then there's a couple left over, and I'm like, I'll have another one.
A hot dog could totally be a side item. Yeah. It doesn't have to be the main star of the show.
And I also don't feel guilty eating hot dogs around 4th of July. Like,
yeah,
there are times that it's like, okay, it's a little unnecessary with the mystery meat stuff. Like, well, I got to have a rhyme or reason for it, and that is the rhyme and reason 4th of July hot dogs.
Well, after you watch the Nathan's hot dog eating contest, I mean, one could argue that makes you want to eat them less after seeing someone eat, I think, what was his world record? Like 60-something hot dogs?
78, 76?
I think he hit like 83 in that contest he did with Kobayashi on Netflix last year, because last year Joey Chestnut wasn't allowed to be in the Nathan's hot dog eating contest. But I don't know if that record holds because it wasn't part of the official contest. So I'm sure we'll get some clarification when the main event happens. And if you're like me and you love the Nathan's hot dog eating contest, we will be talking about it on KS Board. We have a live thread rolling for it. I forget the name of the guy who won it last year, but I have a feeling he's going to lose this year because Joey Chestnut is back and he's a Kentucky native. Did you all know that?
I've learned that last year. I didn't know that until last year.
Yeah, Drew Franklin dug up that stat. So if you're watching Joey and you want to join us on KSR Happy Hour, we'd love to have you. I think I'm going to go with hot dog for my favorite July 4th grill out staple for all the reasons you all listed, because it feels like such a July 4th food, and it's easy. It's not that big. You can have, if you had to do one of those like build your plate things, you could easily add on other stuff and not be overwhelmed. So
exactly.
Jack, what was your official answer? I know you were going back and forth.
I think a good old cheeseburger is what I need, but you guys swayed me a little bit. But like I could do like a grilled corn on the cob or something. Like the grill is so versatile on the 4th of July, where you really like a broad or grilled chicken or like there's so possibilities are truly endless.
Absolutely. So all right, what's our next question, Steven? Bum, 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 bum. Will Trent Noah have a bigger role than most fans think? This comes after Jalen Lowe said he's the best shooter he's ever seen. So we actually talked about this, I don't know if it was last week or the week before, or whatever week that Trent did his interviews. I think Drew set the over-under on how many minutes he was going to play, although it was combined with somebody else. It was like him and Colin Chandler combined would be 13 minutes, or it was 13 points per game. I can't remember. Anyway, either way.
Points in like 20 minutes total, or 22 minutes or something like that.
Okay, yeah. Either way, he's not expected to play a ton because this roster is loaded. Steven, do you want to roll that clip of Jalen talking about Trent Noah?
Trent Noah might be the best shooter I've ever seen. And I play with a really good shooter in Blake Henson. But Trent Noah he can shoot the living out the ball. He can really shoot. I love TN.
That's pretty exciting. I mean, I don't know. I tweeted or retweeted that clip on social media, and one fan was like, I don't know why we would be excited about this. Trent wasn't even the best shooter on last year's team. Does it mean that this year's team is going to suck at shooting? And on one hand, I mean, I get his point, but that's just a negative take. But two, like, you would think somebody else would have that title by now, like Cam Williams, or, it's interesting. I don't know. Jack, what were your immediate takeaways on this question?
I feel like it's right in the sweet spot, like right what we're expecting. Like I feel like he's going to be the guy that comes in, plays 12 really good minutes. He's going to bang a 3 or 2. And, although that athleticism that he showed coming in and throwing that poster down the middle was kind of a new thing that I wasn't really expecting. I know Pope wanted him to cut some of the baby fat, add 18 pounds of muscle this offseason. That's kind of priority number 1. So I guess we're still TBD. Depends on how the strength and conditioning work goes over the next couple months and we get to this season. If he can add those 18 pounds and, continue to grow his game and become a little bit more versatile, I think we could see him. He just seemed to have a nose for the ball. Every time he'd come in, he'd always be around a rebound or, find himself for the perfect look from 3. Like he just kind of was a good situational guy. So I lean bigger role than anticipated, but I still think it's going to be a big role overall. I have high hopes for sophomore Trent Noah.
Nick, do you have any strong Trent Noah takes?
I just hope he gets enough to where we get to see junior Trent Noah, and that's where I think junior Trent Noah is like 6-man, potential SEC 6-man of the year or something like that. Because the thing about Trent Noah is, as much as Jalen Lowe's talking about him as a shooter, what makes him good is that he can create his own shot. Like, he's not just Travis Perry, I'm just going to jack an open 3. And he just has a nose for the ball. I mean, there was a couple games where he had like 6 boards, where he would like lead Kentucky in rebounding. But I don't know where the opportunity is going to come as a 3/4. Like, how does he carve out? Like, when you're subbing him in, who are you subbing him in for? And what is his exact role? But I do think it is an indictment on the fun off-season conversations we're having, in that every time you start talking about how excited you are for somebody, you forget about another player, which is what happened with me with Cam Williams, where I was so high on him early on, and then the entire roster gets built, and then we have NBA mock drafts for next year, and then Cam Williams is on it. And I'm like, wait, what? I totally forgot about this guy. Mark Pope has a good problem to work with next year. But one thing I can guarantee is that, similar to the Tennessee game last year, there's going to be 2 or 3 games that Trent Noah is a difference maker in a big win. Like, that's just going to happen. Like, it's hard to plan for it and knowing exactly when and where and how it's going to happen, but he is going to make difference in some wins.
I'm all for that. Absolutely. So the time will tell. We're very excited. It's fun to have some off-season content with these summer basketball interviews. So shout out to UK for giving us access to those guys. Julie is blowing up the chat with some great comments, so shout out to her. She brought up something that a grill out staple we totally forgot, which is Country Boy. You got to take Country Boy to the cookout.
Of course.
Man, I would take the variety pack, because I just bought that when I was up at the lake this weekend. It's got like 4 different Country Boy beers. That way, it's 12 beers. You can take them. Everybody can try a new one. You can, shake it up a little bit. I think the key lime cougar bait would be excellent at a cookout.
Oh yeah.
In Country Light. So, all right, one more question. We got one more to go. Boom. What was your favorite hole-in-the-wall restaurant in college? Ooh. Mine's kind of boring, because we had a Waffle House near campus, and it did not have Wi-Fi, but it was close enough to a McAllister's Deli that had Wi-Fi that you could like get the Wi-Fi to reach to the Waffle House. So there were many a night I would do homework at Waffle House, and there was also a Whataburger nearby, which was great. And that's back before Whataburger kind of had its like renaissance as a cool place. Back then it was just it was a Whataburger, so it wasn't anything fancy. But what about you guys? I mean, you both went to UK, so I feel like Tally Ho has got to be in there.
I was lucky enough that I had the OG Tally Ho that was right there on the corner. But the problem was the lines would always be out the door late at night. My favorite treat yourself, this is a good cheap meal and it's going to fill me up and I'm going to have some leftovers, was Bourbon and Toulouse, because it was nearby in Chevy Chase. You could load up with a big old plate and then save some for later. So it was I felt like I got 2 meals for $8. So that was probably my favorite treat yourself local spot during my time at UK.
I'm going a little bit different, but Katie went to EKU, so spent a lot of time in Richmond. Jackson's. I don't know if you've been to Richmond. Jackson's, it was like this, you walk in kind of cafeteria style. I mean, as hole in the walls it gets. And it's like, pick a meat, pick 2 meats, pick 3 meats. Do you want mac and cheese? Do you want meatloaf? They had all the different sides and southern kind of fixins. and you would leave there with just an absolute massive plate of Southern comfort food. And it was like $8, $7. And if it was your first time, they gave you a piece of pie for free. So it was just like,
that's awesome.
You would walk in there and you just eat like a king, and it'd be like, have a nice day, see you next time, $6 cheaper. Incredible. Just the 10 out of 10. When you say hole in the wall restaurant, that's like the first thing I think of, and it was a staple during college. So yeah.
Well, now we've got a new place to add to our to-go places in Richmond. So looking forward to trying that out. I've never had bourbon in Toulouse, but you would never think it's a hole-in-the-wall place with a name like Bourbon in Toulouse. Like,
no,
it just sounds fancy.
But it's, you slop it onto the styrofoam plate, and it's cheap, delicious. So there was actually a location near the office in Lexington for a while, and that was not good for the diet.
That's dangerous.
Yeah, it was very dangerous.
As if KS Bar wings weren't dangerous enough, you've got that down the street.
Oh, wings are Cajun food. Like, ugh.
Oh, man. I love good Cajun food. All right. Well, we are going to wrap it up because we went over an hour, 10 minutes over. My goodness. That was a very full KSR Happy Hour, and we'll be back next week. Drew will be back from out west. Jack, you will be up in Canada. Nick, you'll be around. Maybe we'll have you back, and we'll have somebody else on. Maybe we'll have a new 4-star quarterback to talk about.
It'd be a lot of fun.
All right, until then, take your country boy to the cookout, and cheers to America on July 4th. We love you guys. Stay tuned and subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. So shout out. We'll see you next time.